This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, well, we got our first snow going down on the ground out there. My guest is living in a nice sunny breeze, as he tells me, in Hawaii. Yes, I have the awesome Ernest Harada on the phone with me today. How do you do, Ernest?
I'm doing fine.
Please tell us how nice it is here in Hawaii so I can feel warm again.
The sun is absolutely shining and brilliant with some billowy clouds. It's 80 degrees, and it's 1 o'clock, of course. And there's a beautiful breeze that comes all the way from the Aleutian Islands in Alaska across the Pacific Ocean, so it's absolutely pure, clean, cool air. It's our natural air conditioning.
Nice. It's 7 o'clock in the evening here. I did not know Hawaii was 6 hours behind us.
Oh, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're the most isolated spot on Earth.
Do you know where I'm located here in New Brunswick, Canada?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
I do.
You've been up here before?
No, I haven't. I go to Buffalo and Chautauqua.
Okay.
Regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And next trip, I'll do Canada. I almost went to Montreal and Toronto and further points west from there, but not this year. In fact, I have a very good friend in Nova Scotia.
Oh, nice.
Who I'm sure will be returning very soon now that the snows have started.
Well, Nova Scotia's right next door to us here in New Brunswick, so yeah. Well, you know what? I can't believe, it's been 50 years. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Rosemary's Baby. And of course, you appear in the climax of it, taking pictures, and it's like, yeah, that movie came out 4 years before I was born. But boy, I love the movie. Talk about getting your start and how it led to this movie.
Well, basically, I was just starting my career. I started out at Syracuse University,
Mm-hmm.
but then a director from the Royal Shakespeare Company, which was newly formed then, saw me doing Romeo and Juliet, and he suggested that I should be in London studying drama, and he would help me, and he did. And so I went to London for 3 years to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. And from there, since I was in Europe and I was very interested in movement and mind, I went to Paris for a year and studied with a couple of great mime teachers. Then they wanted to draft me, so I had to come back to Hawaii. They took my student exemption, and anyway, they didn't take me. So I started my career. I had friends in California, so I went to California first, and very luckily, I started working immediately. I met a couple of casting directors, and one was casting Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, yes.
There isn't a part in there for an Asian, but he said, you're going to need a SAG card. And so he gave me a week's work testing people like Sharon Tate and Barbara Parkins and Patty Duke and Catherine Hayes. And so basically I got my SAG card. And then I went to sign with an agent.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very well-known Asian agency, the Bessie Lou Agency. and her daughter was just starting as an agent. She wanted to become an agent.
Mm-hmm.
So she had been there like a week, and I walked in and met her, and I signed with her. I was her first client at that point, and then she got a call from Paramount Studios that they were doing a film called Rosemary's Baby and to bring her portfolio. So she took her mother's portfolio, and of course, because I had just signed with her, my picture was on top. And as she describes it, when she walked onto the sound stage and was going up to meet Roman Polanski, she tripped on the lighting cord, and her portfolio just strewed across the floor, and my picture wound up at his feet. And he pointed to my picture and says, "Him, I want him."
Oh, wow.
And she said, "Oh, but he's my most expensive actor." Of course, I was her only actor. and that's how I got the part. It was a fluke. It was by chance. And I think, so much of the film itself was that way. I mean, of course, Roman Polanski is a genius. In retrospect, what he did with that film was so innovative and mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, at that point, not in any position really to judge what was into filmmaking, as it was basically my second job on the set and watching the films being made. Of course, I had a very firm grounding in theater, which later, thank God, I got to Broadway and could do that kind of acting. But I was learning screen acting, and luckily on the set, besides Mia Farrow, who she and I think, are the only ones living from that whole scene.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone else was pretty old.
Yeah.
But basically, Sidney Blackmere, this wonderful actor from the Broadway stage and films, and Ruth Gordon, they became my buddies. And Sidney, since I sat so much with him doing crossword puzzles, became my mentor.
Okay.
And would explain film acting to me versus stage acting. And Ruth Gordon had just seen Cabaret in New York, and she was teaching me all these wonderful songs from the show. It was absolutely, in retrospect, one of the best fun shoots I have been on.
I was just going to backtrack a little bit to Valley of the Dolls, which of course you did first. I just wanted to ask, do you have any memories of, what are your memories of Sharon Tate?
Well, I met her, of course, during the testing, and one day she did come on set for Rosemary's Baby, because she was married to Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
And a lovely, lovely person, totally down to earth. So unlike what you think a Hollywood starlet would be. Mm-hmm. She was a sweetheart, and of course her murder was a total shock.
Yeah, very unwarranted. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's again part of, I don't know, craziness.
Yep. Yeah. No, I was curious about that. So much gets talked about with Charles Manson. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't deserve another mention, but not enough is mentioned about her. So and you mentioned her, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to get to know who she was, So it's nice to hear you say that, and it's interesting. Rosemary's Baby. It was part of kind of an apartment trilogy for Roman Polanski, because he did Repulsion and he went on to do The Tenant. All these set in these apartments where you can hear the noises, the neighbors, the creaks, and all of that going on around you, which I find very fascinating. And Rosemary's Baby and Repulsion kind of have a lot in common in terms of their heroine's state of mind. And I've heard Rosemary's Baby actually get talked about in two ways. They say you can either be on Mia Farrow's side and believe her, or you can choose to believe that she's actually nuts. And I never thought of that latter way before. How do you look at it?
Well, I totally believe Mia Farrow's side. I mean, this is how she is viewing, and we're giving that point of view. And Roman very carefully, brilliantly presented the film from her point of view, which, I mean, that last scene, we did take after take because it was handheld and basically following Mia. So the whole scene unfolded as she was seeing it. And I had seen a lot of films, but I never had quite seen that kind of handheld action before.
Yeah.
And I think, doing the film from her point of view, as you said, hearing the creaks, seeing the dawning awareness of the spookiness of the people around her, is why it's become such a lasting classic. I mean, and a horror classic. Yes, there is that wonder, is she crazy? But the film so convincingly presents her point of view, it becomes horrific.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. This is your only scene in the movie, right? Like, you're not involved in the scene where she's being painted on and where she's drugged. You're not involved in that, right?
No.
Okay, because I know there was a big group there around her bed and whatnot.
Yes, that was the other witches.
Okay.
Basically, the last scene were all witches.
Okay.
And I thought Roman cast it so beautifully. A lot of them just looked like innocuous, sort of strange old ladies and old men.
Little black cat in there, sitting by one woman.
Nancy Kelly, who's a comedian, and she's a witch. But she was a delight to be around too. But just seeing it from his point of view, I thought that was really brilliant in the casting, even to the extras.
Yep.
Everyone says a horror film and they expect tons of blood or vomit and like The Exorcist and heads turning and arms getting lopped off, but there isn't a drop of blood or real violence in this horror film.
Well, except where the woman's dropped out the window, you do see blood on.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Yes, but the characters aren't chopped up.
No. Oh yeah, I love the location. Number one, the lullaby that begins and ends the film. I love that too. What a nice touch. I don't know whether I heard this before or maybe I'm ignorant to it, but was that Mia? That was Mia Farrow's voice, was it not?
I don't know, frankly. You assume it is.
Yeah,
she's singing a lullaby because she wants a baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, I never thought about that.
Well, I love the fact the camera.
Never
This
heard Mia sing.
no.
Even while Ruth Gordon and I were singing away, she was pretty much in her trailer. Um, I mean, she'd come out and do her scene, but she was going through her divorce
Yeah.
then with Frank Sinatra, and it really was a trauma for her.
Yeah. Well, you know, I loved how you hear the lullaby and you see the fancy credits and it goes down to the apartment. And I loved when it ended, you know, it goes from the apartment and, you know, it cuts away, you know, to the credits and whatnot. And I love that. Very subtle but very effective. That was a nice apartment. Talk about the location.
Well, we of course the location we did it was on Paramount Soundstage.
Okay, so okay, all right.
But
So,
he set it in New York in the Bromley, I think.
oh,
But they
okay,
used the Dakotas because it has kind of a weird Gothic feel. I mean, it's not your standard apartment building in New York.
okay,
And the whole film is kind of built like that. It's almost normal,
mm-hmm,
but there's something a little off kilter, something a little strange, be it the apartment, the building,
yep,
and conversations. There's always something a little off. I mean, a little unfamiliar.
yep. Well, I thought the movie very, very well done, and what a tremendous veteran cast. I think Mia might have been one of the main cast, if not the youngest of the main cast, and you know, we all remember, you know, she got her hair cut short. We all remember that that little look she has, and I love that shot when she grabs a butcher knife, and you just see the shot of the feet, and you see the shot of the knife, and you see that determined look on her face as she comes towards those closets, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, I love that, and I loved it when she goes into that room and everything is quiet, everything just quiet until you hear, I think it's Patsy Kelly, I think, screams, you know, and then the sound is back, and I love that. And
Well,
yeah,
well, yeah. I mean, that's so Roman Polanski. I mean, basically, he almost has a claustrophobic feeling
mm-hmm,
in dead silence, and suddenly you explode into color and light and activity. He's a master at that, and you know, I think this film will be, though done very early in his career, will go down as his masterpiece.
yeah, it's certainly up there. That in Chinatown.
Financially, the most successful thing he's ever done.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Rosemary's Baby is still a hit.
Oh
We're
yeah,
talking about it 50 years later. How
yep,
many films can you say 50 years later we're going to have the anniversary for?
yep.
You don't hear about it. I mean, I think the number 2 or number 1 film is The Exorcist as the top horror film,
Yep.
but I don't hear any kind of hoopla. I've already given interviews. There are 2 books
Mm-hmm.
coming out about Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, they're coming out. They haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
2 authors have contacted me and interviewed me about the book they're writing about it. And strangely enough, another writer, Steve Rabillo, is writing a book on Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, nice.
And he also mentioned that there's a possibility they're going to do it, redo it
Oh,
in
okay.
some form or other.
Well, I wanted to get Rosemary, or excuse me, Mia Farrow on the show here, but I haven't heard anything back. But I tell you, the situation with her, and it's unfortunate with the media and whatnot. Media works against people like me when it comes to people like Mia Farrow, because she's so backed against the wall with her guard up because, the Woody Allen situation and whatnot. Which, I don't get into that stuff with my guests. I like to talk the films and any charities they promote. But I loved Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby. She had a nice, strong presence, and I gotta ask, you got any other memories of her on the set of this movie, especially that climatic scene?
Well, as you say, I mean, you have to love Mia Farrow. And
Yes.
even while we were filming, I think I was asking myself, who could play Rosemary? And I couldn't. Mia was so perfect for the part. And I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, Hollywood is built on gossip.
Yes.
The gossip was basically the film was the reason why there was a divorce. Her divorce from Frank, he didn't want her to do the film, and she was ready to pull out until story goes, they showed her the rushes of what they had shot, and they really thought she would be an Oscar contender.
Yeah, I'm surprised she wasn't.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. But as for her being Rosemary, I can't think of anyone more perfect. I mean, that pixie look,
Yep.
that total innocent vulnerability, the total victim of her husband and this whole coven plot was there wasn't anyone else except Mia, and she was brilliant in it.
And that famous scene where she looks into the carriage and you see the close-ups of the eyes and you see her reaction. Brilliant on Polanski.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the sound of the horns too.
Actually, I saw a shot where she looked and they created the baby in the carriage.
Okay.
It was not as scary as not seeing the baby, letting the audience create the baby.
Okay.
That was horrifying.
Actually, I think that's the way to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You do it in the audience mind. You don't show them.
Exactly.
You let them create it.
Any memories of John Cassavetes?
I love John.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't work with him on the set, but I knew him a little bit, and I knew of his work as a director, and I loved what he was doing. I remember him primarily as a fine director.
Yes.
But again, he was an excellent actor.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what he was doing, performance-wise.
Yeah, I like how he got his catabunts there at the end when Mia deals with him there at the end. It was the only thing she could do, and you can't blame her.
Well, I mean, this woman has been totally betrayed.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. But wow, like I said, what a veteran cast. You mentioned Sidney Blackmer. I heard that he had issue with saying the lines, God is dead, Satan lives. And I come from a Christian home, so I kind of get it. But from a filmmaking standpoint, I love this movie. But I heard he had issues with saying those lines. Do you remember anything about that?
Well, strangely enough, that line we did retake several times.
Okay.
I think he was resisting it, but again, it's a character you're playing.
Yeah.
It's not Sidney Blackmere. It's a character,
Mm-hmm.
and as actors, you do face situations like that. And
Yes.
you're a big enough star, I guess you can have your way, but I thought that line was needed. I mean, that
Yeah.
is exactly what Coven, what their beliefs are. It's the bedrock of their belief.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Ruth Gordon, so great. She won the Oscar for this. And I got to say, she's one of these women, or actually one of these actors, I shouldn't say just women, one of these performers who acts using her whole body. Even when the camera's not focused on her, you can see her doing stuff. She's constantly in character. She's
She's
such a...
constantly something is always in motion. And that's exactly how she is off stage. But then, I mean, that's why we were singing Cabaret and all these songs, because she used that to get into character. We'd be singing it, and she's moving and trying to recreate the dance, and immediately would go into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it was great learning acting from Ruth Gordon and Sidney Blackmere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, two pros. I think this was Sidney Blackmer's last movie, too.
I think it was. He
Oh.
wasn't well. He wasn't well during the shoot. That's how I got to know him so well. Was he was always kind of sitting down and pretty mellow, and so I would sit and talk.
He had a great presence.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And let's not forget Ralph Bellamy, also in this as well, playing Dr. Saperstein.
yes.
Yeah, he shows up there.
Well, I mean, there was Ralph Bellamy and Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin
played
is
the
Dr. Hill, yep.
doctor. I think of that whole group, the only one, Charles Grodin, is alive.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Mia's friend, Victoria Vitry.
She's still
who
alive.
is- Yeah, she's still alive. I think she just got out of jail.
Yeah, I've been in touch. I'm hoping to get her on the show, but the people handling her, they want me to wait for a little bit, so I'm going to contact them again. But I think it's promising.
Good. She deserves it.
Yeah, I would love to have her on. But yeah, so many great shots, and of course you're there. You're taking pictures and whatnot. Whose idea was it for you to be taking pictures and whatnot at this?
Romans.
Okay. Did he give you what kind of instructions did he give you? And how to play? Yeah.
Because he had such a great cast, he really didn't give much direction
Mm-hmm.
with the actors. He worked a lot with Mia,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because the camera was pretty much over her shoulder the whole time, but he pretty much trusted what Patsy Kelly was doing, what Sidney was going to do, what Ruth was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and basically what I did. He would give us blocking and the camera angles and what we were supposed to do, but that was pretty much it. Yeah, I've worked with other directors who were much more focused
Mm-hmm.
on, quotes, your performance as an actor. And I've worked with other directors who just trust you to do whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Roman's idea, and I asked him, why is there a Japanese photographer? And he says, well, you look around, and it was that time
Yeah.
when Japan was just coming out and becoming economic power internationally, and you'd see these groups of Japanese men, always in groups, all with cameras, snapping pictures everywhere in town. And in any town you went to, or any city in the world, there they were in a group snapping pictures, and Roland wanted to incorporate that.
Okay.
And therefore, I got my job.
And I love that last shot of you taking a picture there, big smile on your face, before, she goes over to the
bassinet.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 50. Can you believe 50 years have passed since that movie was released? What do you think of that?
I would never have thought it would have had that kind of a life. But then, now that the attention is focused on it, I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, I mean, it was Roman's masterpiece. It was the best thing Mia has ever done in her life.
I agree.
There were so many elements that were just right and just perfect. And, I think even her divorce helped it. It made her that much more emotionally shaky.
Yeah.
And it came out, in the film, it recorded it. And it really kind of launched Ruth Gordon, though she was very successful as a writer.
Yeah.
She started out as an actress, but it gave her a whole new career as an actress.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Oh, she is. She is. As
Well,
you said, there's always something going on with her, and that's her absolute beauty.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that came out the same year as Night of the Living Dead, 2001: A Space Odyssey, How the West Was Won, Bullet. There's a lot of great movies. Yellow Submarine. A lot of great movies come out in 1968, and Rosemary's Baby, of course, one of my personal favorites. And 50 years. And of course, it certainly spun some future stuff for you. I got to ask you about some of your other films here as well, because, I mean, you were in Earthquake, which had quite an ensemble cast with Charlton Heston, George Kennedy, Eva Gardner, and Lauren Green, and Genevieve Bujold, and Victoria Principal. You had quite a cast in that. Talk about the experience of this film.
Well, Mark Robeson was the director for Valley of the Dolls, and of course that I worked with him a very little bit. But obviously he remembered me because his next film was Earthquake, and he asked for me and put me in the film. I wasn't much in the film, but it was a long take. I mean, a long job. In that way, I was lucky, even though I may not have had a lot of screen time. I was there, hired, and on set, which was profitable and necessary as a performer. That's how I made my living.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was the time of all the disaster films.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Inferno.
Yep.
And Earthquake was one of the biggies.
Yep.
And it was fun. If total disaster is fun.
Yeah. And you were in The Devil and Max Devlin with Elliot Gould and Bill Cosby.
Yes, that was a Disney. Didn't do too much in that.
And yeah.
The one I did do quite a bit in was actually I got Star Bullying with Tom Hanks and John Candy.
I'm going to bring that up. Yeah, Volunteers.
The Volunteers.
Yeah.
Yes. I played a drug lord, and it was very funny, the director, Nicholas Meyer,
Mm-hmm.
had just done The Wrath of Khan with Ricardo Montalban.
Oh, yes.
And he just loved the wig that Ricardo wore. So
Yeah.
he decided I should wear that wig in the volunteer. So here am I, this long-haired blonde, in the mountains of Thailand. It was funny, as I thought the whole show was. I mean, it was just the best thing about it was on the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
We were on location in this tiny town village, really, in Mexico, outside of Veracruz, which is very tropical, and I guess it looked like Thailand. But we were all there for like a month, the whole cast, and that's rare that you get that kind of camaraderie or that kind of where everyone is there off camera as well as on camera. Usually everybody after the shoot goes back to their lives and their homes and whatever, but here we were all in one hotel having meals together. It was really special.
Well, yeah, I remember when we lost John Candy, and I've heard so many nice things from people who worked with him. What were your memories of John?
Oh, he was a wonderful, big, sweet. He was a sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to diet, and he had hired someone just to stop him from eating. But he would always sit next to me during usually dinner time, because lunch we'd have it on the set.
Okay.
So at dinner time, he'd sit next to me and ask me what I'm having, and I'm said, well, tonight I think I'm going to have this. And he says, well, order two. So I did, and he would order his one and wind up eating one of mine. But I mean, when we took a break for Christmas, 3 or 4 days, and he says, I got my plane. I'm going to fly back to L.A. You want to come with me? I mean, that was so generous of him. There were so many people who wanted to go, but he offered me a ride back, and I told him no. Now that I'm here in Mexico, I want to sightsee a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, he was absolutely a generous sweetheart, and I think you find that in most actors and most stars. It was the same with Tom Hanks. Rita. I mean, these are great, genuine people, and their stardom is so well deserved.
Yes.
They're incredibly talented. And I think their stardom lasts because they are grounded people.
Yes.
Not throwing tantrums, not pulling trips, really avoiding the grandiose or that cliche image of what a star is.
Mm-hmm. Well, you also got to work in The Woman in Red, which not only starred Gene Wilder, but he also directed it as well. And of course, you got reunited again with Charles Grodin in this and Kelly LeBrock in this. We just lost Gene Wilder not too long ago, and quite a comedic genius. What was it like working with him on screen and behind the camera?
Again, this one I didn't do too much in, but all my scenes were with Kelly LeBrock, who was absolutely gorgeous.
Yes. Yes.
But Gene, you asked about, and he had a great gift of playing the frantic.
Yes.
There's always a frantic element in his performances. And as a person, it's there too. And it was there kind of as a director. This is just, it wasn't like an assumed persona. He, as a director, he was pretty much Gene Wilder, the actor.
Mm-hmm. You know, we
And of
mentioned,
course, very gifted.
yeah, we mentioned Mia Farrow not getting an Oscar nomination. I was surprised that Gene Wilder never got an Oscar nomination for Young Frankenstein. You want to talk about a great performance overlooked, you know? Yeah.
Well, that is another film that's become iconic.
Yes.
Everyone in the film, yeah, it's a great piece of comedy genius.
You know, it's interesting.
Then, comedies have a harder time getting Oscar nominations
Yes,
than
they do.
drama. People always think, and actually, I think it's more difficult to do comedy than to do drama. And I say this as a performer for 50 years plus.
Yep.
It takes more to do comedy, and it needs that little extra sense of what is going to be funny. I mean, it's everything a dramatic actor has, but that sense of what will turn it into comedy. And I think all comedians get short shift in their art.
Yes, I agree. Yes, and you've done a few comedies. In fact, last year I had William Daniels on here for the 50th anniversary of The Graduate, and we also celebrated the 30th anniversary of Blind Date, which I think is so underrated and so hilarious. And of course, you're in this. I think this movie is underrated. Talk about being in this movie.
Who was the director?
Blake Edwards.
Blake Edwards.
Yeah.
I think I have done maybe 5 Blake Edwards movies, most of which I don't appear in.
Okay.
And so I asked him, I mean, we were doing, what was it? The Man Who Loved Woman. And I was hired to, Blake interviewed me, hired me for that. We were shooting in Houston. I was the cover shot. I was there a month and still hadn't worked. And it turned out to be one day's work with Kirk Reynolds. And I finally asked him, I said, you know, I've been in your films and I don't appear in them. Why do you hire me?
Yeah.
And he told me, I like having you around, which was pretty much Blind Date too. Except on that one, I got on screen.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he was a lovely gentleman, and I think of all the directors I worked with, the most savvy of Hollywood and its workings, and talk about comedy, he was a master. I mean, his whole Pink Panthers and
Yep.
just everything.
Yeah, another one comedy you was in. Again, great cast. You know, A Wicked Stepmother. I mean, you got directed by Larry Cohen. You have Betty Davis in that. And what was
that was her last film.
Yeah.
And basically, that's the only reason why I did it, because it was Betty Davis. And they said, you know, she needs the work, so we put it together. We can't pay. We're just paying everybody minimum plus 10 for their agent. Would you do it? And I said, for Betty, yes.
Yeah.
Anything. I totally respected that woman. I don't think it was a very good film, but I'm glad she went out in some kind of restored glory. I thought her whatever happened to Baby Jane was vastly underappreciated.
Oh, true, yes.
Because,
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, another comedy you was in, Death Becomes Her. You got Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, and Meryl Streep. Goldie Hawn, of course, very comedic. Meryl Streep can pretty much go across the board on pretty much anything.
Meryl can do anything in the world. I mean, as an actress, I think she is the greatest. I mean, you want something done in a Lithuanian accent, and you want an 80-year-old. Give it to Meryl.
Yes.
Pull it off, and she does brilliantly. Everything she does, I've admired, and she does it so seamlessly. I mean, it's just, she is my current favorite actress.
Good choice.
Living actress, yeah.
Yep. Any members of Goldie Hawn? Because I think she's really funny, and she actually made a little comeback recently in the Amy Schumer movie, and I actually went to see it just to see Goldie.
Well, when I was first in Hollywood, I had friends who were very close to, like, Gus Strakonis and whatever. Goldie Hawn hadn't done Latin yet.
Mm-hmm.
She was just a starlet.
Yeah.
But she had just this kind of offbeat, comedic sense.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I just knew as soon as I started talking to her that first time that she was going to become a major star, and of course she did with Laugh-In. Just launched her and never looked back after that. The television show made her a movie star, and she never disappointed.
No.
And she was hysterical in Death Becomes Her.
Yeah. Yeah. And one more film I want to bring up to your attention, of course, is Dreamscape. Dennis Quaid, Max von Sydow still working, and Christopher Plummer, Eddie Albert, of course, was in Roman Holiday as well, and of course, directed by Joe Dante. He was a terrific filmmaker.
Was it Dante?
Wasn't
Adam.
Dreamscape. Maybe I got that one wrong. Just a sec, I'm gonna look her up here and see. Maybe I could have made a mistake here. I interviewed somebody yesterday.
Maybe you're not. I'm 74. My memory is not perfect.
Actually, you know what? You're right. It was Joseph Rubin. I had the first name pretty much right. Oh my goodness, I got that wrong. I don't know what I was thinking of. Okay. It wasn't Joe Dante. My mistake, I'll own that.
Yeah, that was an interesting film. I didn't do much on that one, but I got a lot of work. As I said, I had an agent, and I was her expensive actor. I made a good living not doing too much film work and television work.
Mm-hmm.
And what I made, I pretty much invested in my stage work. That was my true love. And I did a lot of theater in Los Angeles. I helped found a theater company that's still alive.
Okay.
East West Players. And I go out of town, even though theaters can't pay. I would be losing money, but it was my true joy. So, yes, whatever monies I made from film and television I used to subsidize my trips to go out of town and perform, and I made a promise to do at least one stage play a year. Um, I felt to keep alive artistically,
Mm-hmm.
and as an actor, keep my skills, performing skills.
So you like performing in
Or,
front of a crowd, huh?
well, yes. With film and television, for an actor, I find ungratifying
Okay.
only because ultimately the director is in control,
Mm-hmm.
um, and things aren't in sequence. You don't build on things like you do on stage, but ultimately you're not in control and you don't have any kind of feedback from an audience. Whereas on stage, once that curtain goes up, it's you and the audience, and you're committed for an hour and a half to entertain them, and that doesn't happen in film,
Okay.
and that is what I particularly love. Uh, it, yeah, at that point, nobody's between you and the audience, not directors, not anybody else, just you and them.
Do you have a favorite play you've done?
Mm. Well, I did Pacific Overtures on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I and of course, yeah, that's my favorite play. I mean, how I think I turned down a television series to do that play again. Uh, Financially, it would be much more profitable to do a television series. But again, I was an actor, and when the opportunity to do a show on Broadway came up, especially one with Hal Prince and Stephen Sondheim, I just couldn't say no. I had to. I knew if I said no, I would regret it for the rest of my life.
Okay.
And in retrospect, as I sit here 74 years old, it is one of the most gratifying periods in my life was being on Broadway.
Do you have any charities or web pages that you're involved with?
Well, yes, I contribute to Actors Fund. This is a great fund, basically, and it supports anyone in the theater,
Okay.
not just actors. It's the Actors Fund, but anybody out of work, anybody in trouble, they will help. And locally, I support, I'm an active officer in a group called Lima Kokua, which is Helping Hands,
Okay.
and we actively raise money, and all the money we raise, 100% of it, we donate and give to causes basically that the big organizations don't recognize. A lot of startup service organizations. And basically, yeah, I've always worked in some kind of charitable group. I think it's very important in life to give back something.
Yes.
I mean, I had to retire at 51. I had health problems. In fact, I needed a new liver. Um, so I had to retire and was disabled and couldn't do anything for 15 years until I got my new liver.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got it and was feeling okay, I was already old. I was 65, so all my disabilities had converted to retirement. So I retired and have been pretty much active with my service group, Lima Kokua, um, and helping little theaters here in Honolulu.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I was wondering, have you ever done the convention scene, like the fan conventions?
No,
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 I've done.
no, no convention scenes, no cruise ships, no.
I just come from my second convention. It was a horror film convention, and it was a blast. And that's what I asked because Rosemary's Baby hitting 50 years, and I'm surprised that none of the conventions have tried to highlight that film. But I'm very, very very honored to have you come on here and talk to me today. Like, what a blessing this is. And I remember you very well in Rosemary's Baby in particular, you with those big thick black glasses there with that camera, and you're smiling, but Rosemary is not.
No, she's there with a knife.
Yeah, yeah, but 50 years ago, Rosemary's Baby, and I gotta say the movie still looks great today, and I'm so honored to have you come on here and talk to me about this. Thank you so much for coming on here today.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
It's fun. It's fun reliving it.
Oh yeah. Anything else you want to plug before we close off?
No, but I'd like a CD of this interview. I feel sort of isolated here in Honolulu, and though I do travel, we get to New York.
Mm-hmm.
I go at least once a year and catch up on new shows, and yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, well, it'll be a while before this airs, but maybe I can whip something together for you, or a flash drive or something, and send it your way. I can have that arranged.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
You got a thing on your computer you can put a flash drive in, right?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I can have that arranged. I don't know when, but I can certainly have it arranged. I'm connected with you on Facebook, so I can certainly have that arranged for you.
Well, I thank you.
Yeah.
Several people who asked me, well, if you're going to do an interview, please get a copy of it. They'd like to hear it.
Okay, well, absolutely. Well, we'll be going on YouTube eventually as well, but I definitely have no problem sending you a copy on a flash drive. That's no problem here. And when it comes time, I'll message you on Facebook or whatnot, and I'll get your mailing address, and I'll send it out your way.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Great.
Yeah. Before you go, would you mind very much doing a plug for my show?
Sure. Everyone, please listen to an exciting show with Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise, New Brunswick, Canada, CHSR FM.
Yes.
You'll love it.
Yes, we're celebrating 50 years of Rosemary's Baby and the guy who took pictures of everything.
Still doing it.
Still doing it. Well, God bless you, Ernest, and we'll stay connected online on Facebook, and I'll let you know when this comes out.
Okay.
All right. You take care.
You too.
Enjoy that Hawaiian weather.
I am. That's why I'm here.
God bless you, and you take care.
All right. Aloha to you.